The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good evening, listeners. So thrilled to be with you Monday evening. And today we will be having a conversation, you and I. Looks like our guest may not be able to join us. And we will be talking about some fun stuff today. So hope you guys have been doing well. And what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the stories that have happened recently in my life and what has happened in some other people's lives. So what I want to share is that in the past few months, I have been seeing that a lot of people are at the edge of exhaustion. And we have been facing uncertainty. Yes, it's been a rough year to say the least. Not just the pandemic, not just social issues, not only economic issues. It's a lot to take in. And there are times when you want to throw in the towel. And what do? So recently, I was listening to a channel and heard a story. And just want to share that story with you. So there used to be a kingdom. A fabulous kingdom. And in this kingdom, everybody was at peace. You can call it like a utopia. And what was happening was the king had gone to war for his people, and he loved his people. And he would go out in the middle of night, check out, what things were happening, and if everybody was at peace, if everything, his courtiers were following the law and there were no atrocities or any sort of corruption going on. So he would go undercover and find out. And then he found out that the neighboring king was going to attack their kingdom. Some of his officers had mixed, and there's only a day left. So there was not much time where he could do a whole lot, but he called his very close folks that he trusted well. They somehow pulled things together, but a lot of lives were lost. And he lost his one eye and his one leg. And then he decided, what could we do? Because the lives were lost on both sides, and it did not serve well for anyone. So he decided to go ahead and start treaty in a way where he brought on ambassadors from public. And his folks were going to the neighboring states and talking about, do we want war? And everybody was practically, most of the people were on the same page. No, we don't want war. We want peace. And because people were the ambassadors, what started happening was that the neighboring states and this king's kingdom, they formed an alliance. So now they became a very, very strong army. And most of the time, nobody wanted to attack this region because it was not just one. So everybody's living peacefully and all that. And one day, this king is walking down, of course, with crutches, down gallery where he's looking at all these wonderful paintings of his forefathers. His great granddad, dad. And then he started thinking, geez, when my painting goes up here, I'm not going to be as grand as my forefathers. So he made an announcement and he said that whoever can paint my painting, I'm going to give them a large amount of money that you never will have to worry about for the rest of your life. And this is a grand offer. And guess what? Nobody showed up. Because the deal was that if the king did not like the painting, then he would put the artist in prison for 15 years. So there was a lot riding. I mean, on one hand, you could have the rest of your life just, be retired anytime, or you could end up going in prison. It's a tough situation. And then what happened was a young kid, probably 18, 19 years old, he is at the palace gates in tattered clothes. And the soldiers are like, no, you can't go in. And he's like, I'm an artist. Why don't you let me go in? And they're pushing him out. And it so happened that the king was going out for his morning ride. And then he saw this commotion and he stopped by and said, what's going on? And the soldier said, oh, this young gentleman was just making this commotion and he wants to see you and he wants to do your painting and he wants to meet and blah, blah, blah. And look at him. We don't think he can do this job. He's barely out of school and he thinks he can do which no one else, like even our biggest of artists of the whole kingdom, have not stepped forward. So the king said, he's here. I want to give him a chance. So what happened was the king invited him in. They had a conversation which nobody was privy to. And he talked with the gentleman what he wanted in the painting. And the gentleman said, I don't have any money, sire. Can you provide me with canvas? Can you provide me with the paints and everything that I need and a room where I can do it? And the king said, sure, I can definitely arrange for all of that. And he said that you can stay in the palace if you like. And the young gentleman said, no, sire, I don't want to stay in the palace. I have my house. If you can have all of this shipped out to my humble hut, I'll be okay. So all the supplies were sent to this young gentleman's place. And the young gentleman had said that it'll take me around 3 months. So the king was waiting patiently, and then he was losing his patience. The deal was that the king could not meet the painter during this time. So the time went by and it was tough for the king. But somehow the time passed by and the painter requested for a horse cart. Huge painting. Because the size was huge and usually the painting was done in the castle versus this gentleman wanted to do the painting and he wanted to paint that in his humble abode. And now what happened is that the painting is in the horse cart. Okay? And now as the painting is unveiled, what happens is everybody is just praising. And folks, here's what that painting looked like. The painting had a beautiful sunrise, which was right in front of this young gentleman's house. And the king was sitting on a horse, riding in his full glory, his one leg showing and his one eye closed with a bow in his hand. So this painter had found the solution for a very hard problem. So sometimes we may think that there are problems we cannot resolve, and yet we can find solutions to it. So folks, I am delighted to share our guest is here. So let's bring on our guest. Hello, Jodeen.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, doing great. I was just sharing a story that I had heard and it had fascinated me.
I was listening in the back room and I apologize. We had a flat tire. And
Oh, no. Are you guys okay?
Oh, yeah. No, it was my daughter's car and she got a big old rock in there. Luckily, we're close to my daughter's house. And so we were able to whip around. But you know how it is? Everything takes time. And so I didn't have internet. So
that's absolutely fine. And oh, you're fine. And, that's what it is, right? I was just talking about that story that things happen and how do you make the best out of any situation? So,
well, I think it's a blessing because I didn't realize that the tread on her tires were as bad. So, everything happens for a reason. So it's all good.
Well, I'm just glad she's safe.
Yes, yes. So how are you doing?
Doing great. And so, Jodeen, welcome. And we will jump right into the conversation if you're up for it.
Yes.
Awesome. So, folks, I don't know how many of you have heard of Clubhouse. So for a few months back, I had not heard about it either. Clubhouse is the new raving app that's been going around that has been limited to Apple. Now they're opening up to Android users too. And Jodeen, our guest today, she is a whiz at Clubhouse. So welcome, Jodeen.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I look forward to speaking into you about Clubhouse and my experience that has been pretty phenomenal, and happy to answer any questions that I can, and I'm an open book. So.
Oh, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So Jodeen, first of all, tell a bit about yourself and what led you to Clubhouse.
Well, my name is Jodeen Bergstrom, and I live 82 miles to the closest Starbucks. So that will give you an indication of the middle of nowhere. And, I've been an entrepreneur. I was only 18 days old when my mom took me to my first concession stand. So I don't know how much more DNA it can be in there, but I grew up on a farm. So it's just been a natural given talent that, I've just always been an entrepreneur. I did try a job for a couple years and I realized very quickly it was not for me. And with that opportunity, a mentor came into my life and handed me the book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm so grateful for Ken for handing me that book because I really did use it as a blueprint, and not only in my business, but also in my personal life for the most part. And I say most part because unfortunately, after 33 years, my husband walked out about 4 years ago. But, with that, there was a deep valley there. And a couple of years ago, I started to come out of that valley. And just a little bit further back from that, I lost both my parents within 3 months of each other. We shut down our restaurant that had been very, very successful. And then he walked out. And, I was pretty lost. And death definitely was, an option for me. I was looking at that. But my mom's parting words to me were, go out and be so successful that you piss them off even more. And I had some ugliness with my siblings. I don't know if anybody ever has, realized that you can choose your friends, but your relatives you're stuck with. And that doesn't mean that even though they're the same DNA, that they have the same beliefs. And so went through a lot of ugliness with them. And, in that moment when I made that decision to, come out of my depression and that valley, I reached back to that book of Think and Grow Rich and started doing masterminds on it. And that's truly how, Clubhouse became a part of my life, is because when I got an invite for the app, it was through Russell Brunson, and that's through ClickFunnels, if anybody's familiar with them, and got onto the app. He was the first person that, followed me, and I was like, what the heck is this app all about? I don't know anything about it. And just really walked in with an opportunity to find my voice and to really just truly hone in on, what opportunities could be there. And opened a room on December 20th. And guess what? Not one person showed up. I sat there for 20 minutes and I thought, well, this is pretty stupid. Why would I open a room and nobody's here to listen to me? So I just kind of pushed it away. And a couple of days later, came back on the app and they said, open a room. That's what you got to do. And I was like, I did. Okay. And it didn't work. So I'm not doing that again. And when I opened up that second room, we had about 30 or 40 people in there. Kate, the pivot girl, was one of them. And she said, you know how to talk. You know how to speak. I want to open up a room. Come co-host with me 24/7. I think it'll be fun. And I'm like, 24/7 for a room? What are you talking about? And, at that point, I had teenagers that were home from Christmas, and they were kind of gnarly. I don't know if you've ever, had teenagers that were kind of not happy. COVID was happening. We couldn't do our normal, Christmas. And it wasn't anything against them, that we all had been through so much. And so I looked at the teenagers and I looked at Clubhouse and I went, you know what? Clubhouse looks kind of inviting. So I jumped on there and we went for the 24/7. Had a blast. It was really a lot of fun. Got to, really truly command the stage and learn how to MC it and use a lot of my talents. I've certified John Maxwell speaker, so I know how to speak and I've been on stages. And, we started going and then Kate's like, well, 12 days is the longest that anybody's ever ran a room. Let's beat that. And I'm like, I'm kind of competitive, but I'm like, we got New Year's and, I got a life and, I got teenagers. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's COVID. What am I going to do? And so I said, sure, why not? And after 18 days, I realized I had not done laundry in 18 days. And about 20 days we ended, but in that time period, I got to have, one-on-one conversations with the likes of Elena and Grant Cardone, and Damon John, Ty Lopez, obviously Russell Brunson had come in there. Les Brown, I had spoke to him 30 years ago on a stage and he remembered it and had to just, got to reconnect with him. And, JT Fox and Sharon Letcher and, all these amazing people that December 20th, I would have never even thought, in the wildest dreams that I'd, have a conversation, let alone be able to command or, open rooms with them. And so it really has been an experience. I've been in amazing rooms. I've been in a room where a baby was born. We went through all the breathing. I've been in a wedding on Clubhouse. It was the first wedding on Clubhouse. I've been in the first Clubhouse pageant. So it's not just the business and the marketing ones. There's been crazy ones. We've had, duck profiles. We've had, bunny profiles, just having fun. And we've been in a lot of social rooms. So it's just been a blast. And, it's an honor to be in here speaking into you. And like I said, if you have any questions, I'm an open book.
Absolutely.
That was a short intro.
That's okay. It's a totally uncanned and organic conversation we have. So sounds like it again kind of goes back to that one failure and you just don't retract back like a turtle in its shell. So you went out there and you had this tenacity to be there for 18 days, folks, not doing laundry. That's a lot.
It was actually 20 that we were, but 18, after 18 days, I did the laundry.
Wow, 20 days straight. But if you kind of look at the magnitude of things you're able to achieve and speak with these giants, that's fascinating. So let's say, a lot of people may not have heard about Clubhouse. Somebody may have heard. So let's say if we assume that people have not heard about Clubhouse, how can they get an invitation?
It is an invite only, and Androids, the world has been open to them since Sunday, so we have lots of them joining in. And, part of the reason everyone's like, well, why was it just iPhone? What was the whole reason of that? And there are less iPhone users, and so as a new app, it was easier for them to figure out all the bugs and get it all together with a select small or group of people. In fact, when I joined the app, there was only 100,000 people on there. And after I joined, it jumped up to 1 million because all the marketers had come on. And now I haven't heard the last numbers, but I heard it was close to 20 million the last time that I got, clarification of the numbers. So that's a lot, because I joined in December, so January, February, March, April, May, in 5 months to go to 20 million people, that's a lot. And now with the Android coming on just as of Sunday, I can only imagine, the millions of more people that came on with that. So it's an invite-only app. It is only audible. So that means that there's no visual here like we do on Zoom or, StreamYard or any of that. So it's kind of nice if you're an introvert, you can, and, you don't want to, especially us women, we don't have to put the makeup on. We don't have to do the hair. We can just pick it up and start talking. So a lot of people really, really love it. And, there's different purposes. If you're going in there to build a business, then there's a certain, protocol to build that. If you're going in just to, network and meet people and really just socialize, there's a protocol for that. And, even if you want to just go in there and check it out, the best way to do it is to just get into the different rooms, curate your interests, because that's how the rooms are opened up. And it's kind of different from any of the other apps because, like I say, on Facebook and Instagram and all the other ones, we can all hire an amazing copywriter and make us look really, really good, But on Clubhouse, all the voice inflections, all the morals, and all the integrity are coming out in the voice. And, you can kind of fake it for a little while, but eventually those who are not, up to par, usually they don't stay on the app. And it's been interesting because I've watched, a lot of those different personalities come on, and now you look and, they haven't been on for a month or two. And, it just wasn't cut out for them. But people that are just authentically there themselves, and if you come on with servant leadership, you can make a very, very successful living off of there. I've got a couple of courses that I've created off of there, how to be an amazing MC, and then a mastermind. And so you can create income off of it. And there's been a lot of speaking engagements that are opening up, and I'm very, very excited for those as our world starts going, and just the connections. But truly for me, it's been the relationships. I said I was 82 miles from Starbucks. So, I don't have strong, opportunities to meet a lot of different people. My little town, we have one stoplight. So that should tell you how big we are. And so I have people from all over the world, and the friendships have just been phenomenal. So it's a great place. It came in at the appropriate time for COVID. We were all forced into isolation. We were told to distance ourselves. We were told to not talk to people. Whatever you do, don't have that, bond or that communication. And that's so valuable. We need that. We have to have that, unitedness of relationship. And so it came in at an amazing time in our lives. And everybody that, was able to jump on it really embraced it, I think, to the fullest, and got a lot out of it, as long as they knew how to curate their experience from it.
Absolutely. Some great points here. So let's say somebody, an Android user, joins right now. And this is something very new, especially, if you have been hanging out on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, or Twitter. I mean, there's so many, Reddit, so many other platforms. So now you happen to be getting an invite. You hop on there, and there's so many different rooms. You follow people. How can people get followers? And how can, let's say, especially if it's an entrepreneur, how can they go about growing their business? And you did mention about servant leadership, which I really believe in, because as one of my friends says, give, 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 and then ask. Or his favorite thing to say is jab, 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 and then hook. So to me, that definitely resonates. And let's say people is coming from a point of servant leadership and everything, and they're showing up in rooms. So what's just some few tactics and strategies that can give them a little shortcut rather than floundering around,
Well, I think I wish I could say it is, point 1, 2, 3, and you're going to be successful. But the biggest way is servant leadership and getting up on the stages and adding value. And the way that you do that is when you enter a room that is in alignment to, who and what you are, raise your hand so that you get on the stage, and then just give value. And, don't try to give a sales pitch, because that will be we figure out the people that are there to pitch their sales, and people get tired of that. They don't want to be pitched to. But once you add value, then people resonate with you, and then they want to follow you and go later. And, there are some tactical ways of, just say, hey, slide into my DM, or, and a lot of times too, what I always say is collaborate with like-minded people. So, let's just say you, have a heart for in servant leadership, in speaking into elder care, and you want to resonate with, you've got a group of you find, and even if you don't know anybody on the app, go into those rooms where maybe they are speaking on elder care, or all the different, especially nowadays with getting trust funds together, and the financial aspects and wills and all that. There's different rooms like that available. So go in, and when you find somebody that resonates and like, oh man, they're exactly, I agree with them so much, follow them. And then, not only just follow them, but also, direct message them and say, hey, I really appreciated what you had to say, and get to have that relationship going with them. And then once you've got a group of about 3 or 4 of you, and 3 to 5, start rooms of your own. And when you do that, then you become the moderators, and then you become the experts, you become the authority of the room. And then as you start and open up rooms, you can edify each other. And, it's pretty hard to get followers of saying, hey, I'm great, I'm amazing, make sure you follow me. There are people that do it, and they've been a little successful at it. But overall, in general, people like to, make that decision on their own. And so when you help as a collaboration together and, promote each other, that's when I see you really get that following. Now, there are ways to pay for following, but I don't recommend it because I don't have a high number of following for the time that I've been in there. And a lot of people that were in that same room that I was in, they definitely have higher numbers. But I jumped off of the app afterwards, and you got to have a foundation. And I was a servant leader for those 20 days, didn't have an offer, put together a 21-day speed dating with Think and Grow Rich, and, took some time doing that. So, I didn't go and there's one thing called follow sucker, where some people will get on stages and they'll just kind of soak up the followers and not speak, or, not even be present. That used to be a pretty big thing, but nowadays that got old and I didn't allow it to happen on my stages. So, but the big thing is give value, and work collaboration together as a team, and you're going to get those followers. And like I said, I think I only have about 15,000 followers right now, but I know that they resonate with who and what I am. I used to get anywhere from 200 to 300 DMs a night when I was in that room. And, I responded to every one of them. I was very, cautious about that. I'd get off at about midnight from speaking in the room. And then I would stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, because I just felt obligated to speak to those people. And, those people have been very dedicated to me. And, it's kind of like when you burn the boat, I know that those 15,000 people are going to be, burning the bridges with me and building new ones on the way as we go. So to me, that's more important than, having 150,000 paid ones that you don't even know who they are.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I also kind of believe in, is that it's not just a numbers game. You can be an influencer, even if you're impacting one person. So you talked about reaching out to your followers. And it's important, right? Rather than just gaining the number of followers, you're building that relationship. Because when you mentioned that when you're coming from a place of servant leadership, between these followers could be your collaborators. You can reach out to them and say, hey, if you're in the same area, why don't we connect and let's start a room together? And whoever we know, let's just get started. And there begins the seed of relationships. So do you have any other ways to cultivate and nurture the followers?
Well, I think the big thing is, you know, for me, you know, like I said, when I would get all those DMs, it was stressing me out. And Social Tap, Andrea and Harold reached out to me and basically saved my life of being able to sleep more because that was a way for me to go from stage to getting people into my funnel or into my list. And so when I did that, that helped me greatly because then that allowed people to go into my Facebook groups. It allowed people, I have a Rolodex and a speaker form where I can, you know, I have 5 kids. I can't even remember their names. So let alone all these speakers and all these people that have been on the stage with me. And so I had them filling that out so that, you know, now when I want to open up, you know, kind of specialized knowledge or, you know, go a little bit deeper in something, I can look at that and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember, you know, when Maria was on the stage, oh yeah, there she is. She, you know, speaks into rapid transformational healing. So I can, you know, reach out to her and say, hey, I would love to have you on a Clubhouse stage, or, you know, maybe I'm going to do a virtual live summit or whatever it is. I now have taken people from that stage and made that relationship. And I think the big thing is if somebody takes the time to comment on a post or if they DM you, then, you know, respect that and build that relationship. So, you know, I know a lot of times, even though I would get direct messages, it wasn't, you know, just for me to just say one thing. I would always follow up on them and make sure that, you know, you really got to, you know, relationship and networking, it's about interaction. And so, you know, I do have a system now where they get to go into my Facebook groups, but as soon as we get into the Facebook groups, you know, I'm welcoming them in there and I'm talking to them in there. So it's not just a matter of, you know, hey, come with me and, you know, yeah, all right, now we're going to be all great because you are all following me. It's about building those relationships and keeping that connection going.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a couple of platforms. Could you spell them out in case our listeners did not catch it?
Oh, yes. Actually, if you guys go to Jodeen.club and down at the bottom, if you see, there's a link that says, I really like this platform, that's Social Tap. And if you click on that, and it's the greatest thing about it, especially if you're just starting out in business, they have a free opportunity where it doesn't cost anything. So you can get on there and get all the different links. But if you want to take it to a higher level and get like payment plans or, you know, a couple of unlimited, or not a couple, if you want unlimited links, then it's only $60 a year or $6 a month. And, you know, I mean, if you're just starting out and you're trying to figure out how to, you know, make this all work, I just grabbed Jodeen.club as my URL, and then I hyperlinked my Social Tap to that. So now when I'm on the stages, I'm like, hey, if you want to connect with me, go to Jodeen.club, and, you know, you can get into my How to Be an Amazing MC course, and it works out great. So if you go to Jodeen.club, you'll see that Social Tap, and it's been an amazing opportunity for me to get more sleep. And, you know, in my students, that's what I teach them. You know, a lot of them, they want to use their voice, the power of their voice, and you know, be paid for it. And that's an easy way for them to, you know, stay connected. And the one thing about Clubhouse, if you're not familiar with it, you have to direct message either through Instagram or Twitter, which is kind of unusual. They don't have a direct messaging system. And then there's on your bio, there's no clickable links. So you have to verbally tell people how to get in touch with you. Now, if you go to my Instagram, Jodeen_D or Bergstrom, you will see my Jodeen.club is linked there too. So if somebody's really struggling, like I do not like typing in URLs. They're just, So I always tell people, if you really want to have that clickable, just go to my Instagram and you can click on jodeen.club too. So that is kind of the uniqueness of Clubhouse as well. It's a little bit different from most platforms, but that has worked really, really well for me.
No, that's very powerful. And Jodeen.club, it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
So that's
unfortunately, that was one of, and there again, though, one of the first few, experts that came through that room was speaking about, I didn't even know there was a .club. I just thought the whole world, .com was the only thing there was. I didn't realize that there were more URLs out there. And so when he said that, I went and grabbed mine right away. And unfortunately, shortly after that, other people went and grabbed all of the names. So if you're thinking that you can get your name, unless it's unique like mine, you probably will not get it, because somebody went and bought them all up. And I'm sure now they're selling them at a little bit higher price than the $1.99 that I bought mine at.
Absolutely. So you talked about emceeing, and you are a phenomenal MC. I've had the pleasure to see you in action. So if somebody's inside a room, they're starting out a room, and of course at that point in time, they're their own MCs. So what tips could you give starters, or even people who have been doing it for quite some time?
Yeah, there's a big difference between a moderator and an MC. And a lot of people think that because they have that little green dot with the white star in there, that they're automatically this infamous MCer or, infamous moderator. And that's not the case, because when you're moderating a room, or I refer to my position as emceeing, because it is more of a guest show host. I always compare, like what Oprah did. I used to listen to Oprah all the time. I had 5 daughters, so I did a lot of laundry, and she was always my laundry folding experience. And so, but I learned from her and how to keep the room safe. And so I applied a lot of those, that hosting ability, and I've emceed a lot of events too. My daughters were queen pageant, or in the queen pageant. So I, helped MC for some different things. And so I took all that knowledge and really just honed into that talent. And you want to keep the room, the energy high. You want to keep it safe. You want to keep it flowing. And then also you have to watch, because some people will get on and, they'll want to be a mic hog. And, I teach my students that if you cannot get your point across in 3 minutes, then you need to reevaluate what you really have to say, because, our attention span is shortened so much. And if they have went over that 7 minutes, then you totally have to reset the room, because, the attention span, unless you get some amazing people in there like Sharon Letcher or, Les Brown, where they're really master, minding, and Grant Cardone, you can have longer conversations, but you'll look at, and now we have the analyticals, and we can see where, the jump time is. And most people will only stay in a room, and it depends on, the subject and the topic. But I've found that in my analytics, in all the different rooms that I've been in, is about 13 minutes is the longest that people will stay on the average of what people will stay in. Now you've got people that will stay longer, and then you got people that are in and out, jumping in and out of rooms, because it's just not in alignment for them. But you have to be making sure that those analyticals, so that if you're trying to get people to follow the club or follow the moderators, you don't want to do that every 20 minutes if people are jumping out every 13 minutes. So it's very important to have, and that's part of that emceeing too, is, knowing those analytics and being able to, watch the flow. There's a backstage conversation that we always have going on. So we're always talking on the back end of how, who, what, when, and where, and keep the energy going too. So there's a lot of moving parts. And once I know when you first come on, it sounds so overwhelming, but once you get the hang of it and you understand it, it actually flows pretty well, and it's a lot of fun.
So you mentioned something about a lot of back-end conversation is going on. So are you on phone, on Instagram, or texting each other? Give us a little bit of a sneak peek in there.
Yep, great question. And for me, there's 3 applications that I like to use. WhatsApp, We use that a lot, and that's primarily because we have people from all over the world, and that is a cost-effective way. And Telegram is another one, depending on, what country they are. So, I have both of those on there. I have used Voxer before, but not as many people are as apt on the Voxer, but primarily we use Messenger on Facebook, and then the Instagram Messenger. Those are probably and the WhatsApp, probably those are the 3 most popular ones that I use. But the big thing is you need to just, collaborate with the people that you're going to speak to, find out where they're, most comfortable. For us, Messengers is where we hang out the most of, but at the same time I can whip out on Instagram as too. So and then the one thing too is I keep that on my computer. I have that conversation open on my computer, and then I use my phone for Clubhouse. And I'll just show you real quick of like a room real quick. I will jump into one here, and just so everyone can see, here is, I have to make sure it's one that they're not going to bring me up on the stage.
This will be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, so this one I doubt they'll bring me in. This is the 10X Club, shooting the shit with successful people, and Grant Cardone is in here. So I'm going to just pop in there just so people can see. And he has 7 followers. And that's Grant, of course, speaking. But you can see this is what it's like. So this is the room, and you can see there's mic claps going on. And I will show you where I'm at, just so you can see. I am in the first row because I'm followed by a lot of the speakers on there. So I'm all the way down at the bottom there. You can see my name. Oops. Mm-hmm. I don't do well with backwards here. Sorry. You can see there's my name, Jodeen. I've got a ring on there. I've got a that's a 128 by 128 pixel. And so I've used them, we call them the Ring of Honors. And so I've used those rings to denote all the people that have been through my courses and my masterminds. And it's been great to see that power, and really that, that tribe has been built on Clubhouse. So that's always a fun thing to do too.
Oh, that's fantastic. The time has flown by. So Jodeen, if you can share where people can connect with you, your Clubhouse. I know you've already shared Jodeen.club, but if you want to share some other way, if they want to reach out with you, talk to you, what's the best way to do that?
Yep, the best way is through Jodeen.club. That's the best way. And then you can just click on there. And let me just, I believe if I'll look here real shortly, because I think I put it live. If anybody needs an invite for Clubhouse, because I have the amazing moderator society, I've got over 1,000 invites that I can use. So if anybody needs an invite for Clubhouse, or even if you've got a group that want in, just let me know, and we can get them in through the Clubhouse, or through the club, and happy to share those 1,000 invites with people. I've got a couple of rooms or a couple of clubs, and so that's the one that right now I have the most invites in, and so happy to share those with you. If you go to Jodeen.club, and you can get into How to Be an Amazing MC Facebook group, and there you can direct message me too if you need an invite to Clubhouse. Or if you have friends that need to be, on. And if everybody comes in, we will open up a room, and I actually onboard. I like to onboard people, because nothing more frustrating to get into Clubhouse and not know where all the buttons are and how to use things. So yesterday, or Sunday, when the Android came on, I guess that was yesterday, I opened up a room, and I was just going to do it for an hour because I had some people in my following that needed invites. So there were 2 of them, and I said, well, I'll just open a room and we'll get you on. And then all of a sudden, my Simeon, who was coming on, his phone, even though it was Android, was not up to par. It wasn't system. So here he's been waiting all this time to get on, waiting for the Android, and I get him an invite, and then his phone won't even let him on. So he has to go buy another phone, and he's gonna buy an iPhone now. And I'm like, dude, how many months could you have been on Clubhouse already?
I know. That's phenomenal. So Jodeen, I want to share. You've been so generous with your invites, folks, and it can be hard to get. Really appreciate you coming on our show and sharing your wisdom and knowledge and generosity. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Look forward to expanding further. And if you ever need anything and I can serve you in any way, just feel free to reach out to me.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a joy.
It is. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us. I know the time usually just goes by so fast. So thank you. Without you, the show would not be possible. And thank you, Rebel, for making all the technology just right for us. And listeners, until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you next Monday.
See ya.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.